All right. I'm your lunchtime keynote. Go ahead and keep eating. Enjoy yourself. If I say something intelligent and that happens from occasion to occasion, just tweet it, all right? So we're going to talk a little bit about what students really want. And this is going to be informed by way of a lot of data. Additionally, I'm going to throw in some of my own perspectives. I've been known to do that. So, let me ask you all a question. What did you want to be when you grew up? When you were a kid, what did you want to be?
A nurse.
An actor, a nurse? Right? You wanted to be a clown? That's awesome. I wanted to be a professional snowboarder. Yeah, that's right, Sarah, Stephanie, word, right? So I doubt that our most connected person here, Kate, Miss Sargent, went to school at UC Davis to get her BA in English with a concentration in film and journalism to become a unicorn hunter, which is exactly what she is.
Yes, I am.
Hell yeah.
We have to leave that so I can take a picture of it. Now I'm fainting.
You want me to back it up?
Yes, back it up just for a second.
Back it up. Kate says back it up. I back it up.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You got it.
Thank you. We're all unicorn hunters.
We are. So my name is Rob Humphrey. I'm a recovering global staffing director. I'm a father of 3 kids. That's right, 2 teenagers. I've got my own millennial and next generation test bed in my house. Okay? And I spent more time on the college campuses and talking to students in the last 2 years than I did in the roughly 4-ish years I went to college. Speaking of which, I'm also going to bring up John Hill, which is going to be way more entertaining, number one. And number two, this guy, if you don't know John, is not only a great friend of mine, but he's LinkedIn's higher education evangelist. So that means he doesn't need slides, number one. Number two, he travels around the world on a constant basis. Since he's been at LinkedIn, he's talked with 100,000 plus faculty and staff and close to 500,000 students. He's talked to a lot of people. So after I tell you about some data, some millennial trends, he's going to show you how students harness LinkedIn, how you can harness LinkedIn, and then answer your questions. Sound good? Right on. How's the lunch? Bacon? If it has bacon, I'm from North Carolina, you're helping our economy, number one. And number two, it's good if it's got bacon. So, the data we have at LinkedIn is totally mind-blowing. It really is. But let me tell you a story. When I graduated from college, back in the abacus days, I made my decisions on where to go to school based on a couple little influencers. My mom, for example, was a secretary in a hospital. My dad worked in a factory for 50 years. I went to school for healthcare administration and gerontology at Ithaca College in New York State. I tell you this because the way students and future students are deciding what to do when they go to school is changing on an exponential basis. It's changing because they're met with the ability to look into the future. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. And it's a big deal. We have essentially the most epic longitudinal study at LinkedIn of career outcomes in the world. We know where you did your internship. We now know even where you went to high school. We know where you got your first job, your second job. It's that weirdness Kate and I had earlier when I came up and said, hey, how about that film degree and that English degree? How's that working for you? And she looked at me like, you stalker, right? But we have this huge study. It's like a crystal ball for students. It's a crystal ball into the future for students. It's a crystal ball for you. It's a panacea for Lori, you at ADP, and all of you to figure out where your interns went, where the ones you didn't get are, and so on. But data is only one side of the equation. So recently, I've become friends with the media solution guys, the fellows and ladies working back here, making all this happen for all the thousands of people on the live stream, for all you here. And I said, hey, you guys looked at your profiles. You've got these Emmy Awards and all this stuff, and you're doing all this cool stuff here, but let's amp it up a little bit. Why don't you come to Raleigh, and we'll actually talk to some students, and we'll start filming this. And let's just do this. So we did. And here's what these folks said.
On up, I wanted to be the president.
I wanted to be a big-time hacker.
When I was growing up, I wanted to be a soccer player.
I wanted to be an astronaut.
Students have a lot of options in front of them, and sometimes it's difficult to narrow all those options.
It's challenging to make that one decision that will change your life.
Students can be overwhelmed. They often feel the pressure.
I'm competing with every other college senior from every other school in America and overseas.
A lot of positions want 3 to 5 years of experience, which is hard to get while you're in school.
It's a little bit exasperating, honestly.
You have this expectation once you graduate that you're going to be doing all these things that you really want to do.
My biggest fear is
Getting rejected a lot.
Not succeeding where I have my passion.
My biggest fear is that I'll just fall short.
So this was actually this epic longer video, and I thought I would grab my Final Cut Express and try to figure out how to edit the end of it. So I just want to throw that disclaimer in there because I could see my friend back there, Justin, basically looking at me like, dude, what did you do to my art? But that gives you a glimpse into the project I've started informally at LinkedIn of really starting to catalog this stuff. And I've become so obsessed with it that I've made it part of my job to focus on this group that we call millennials. Now, I'm just going to talk about millennials because most of the data is millennial focused, but specifically that little swath there, that students and recent graduates swath, is really where we're all focused. It's the people that are graduating now, that are going to graduate in a few years, and the people that have already graduated the last couple years, right? It's smart, savvy, campus, student recruitment organizations, people like Anna Peters at the Minnesota Serve, where they're literally helping kids learn how to read and do math by recruiting students. Maybe it's going to help inform that type of organization. Maybe it's going to help Lori and ADP figure out how to get more salespeople. Maybe it's this whole orange thing, catapults and direct flights to Indiana. But this is the group that we're talking about, people up until the class of 2018. They're taking over the workforce. And for all you millennials, okay, I see you smiling, take it easy. What I mean by taking over the workforce is that they're becoming a larger percentage of the workforce, which we all know, right? Now, as they become a larger percentage of the workforce, right, which isn't news to you, my summary of this whole talk, just to get that out of the way, is that they want all kinds of things. And I'm going to share some of this data from our studies and from third-party studies. But at the end of the day, they only want one thing: a job. And you all have them. So there's a gap between the skills that people have, students have, and the jobs that exist, right? And we connect that to a larger at a larger scale to the economic graph or the future of the world. So everybody in this room and everybody that hires students or interns is effectively the most important people in the recruiting world. I mean, how tough could it be to hire another Java programmer or hire another senior accountant at Accenture? It can't be that difficult. Doing what you all do is crazy difficult. And that's why I work at LinkedIn and do this instead of what you do. So I applaud all you, I really do. Let me tell you about Caitlin Macomb. She's graduating this year. Now, she's actually graduating in a few weeks. She's an engineer with dual degrees, environmental science and math. She actually tutors one of my teenage sons. She's super smart. She knows that STEM jobs are the second largest category, science, technology, engineering, and math, for jobs. And she is also balancing her dreams with getting a job. In fact, 54% of all millennials and the students and recent graduates, 54% take a job that has no connection with their field of study. They become unicorn hunters, clowns, or whatever. What they should be doing is joining Minnesota Core, Teach for America, or something like that. But that's my opinion. And this is what happens when I go off the script. One thing that is true is like her peers, right? She's interested in gaining valuable skills. She's interested in career advancement. She's interested in a salary second, and then training and mentorship. According to the Achiever study, which you've all read, right? That's a really valuable piece of the context. Is how do I get the skills that make me more valuable? Or as I say to my son, listen, there's no reason while you're in high school you shouldn't figure out how to make an infographic, how to speak, how to write, whatever it is. Do these basic things that the older people in the workforce need people to do so that you'll have that skill. So students are also applying to jobs in a lot of different ways. What I've learned from a lot of the research is that they're going directly to company pages, right? That's how they're applying, right? Actually, in my experience, this group is not that sophisticated because there's a lot more that they can be doing. But they go to company pages, which means what? If you haven't wired up your company page, if you're not ADP or Google or LinkedIn or whoever, if you're acme.com, right, you got to figure out how to get them there, right? Good luck. Daquin, he's a business major. He's looking to work on Wall Street. He knows that professional services is the top occupational cluster, but he also knows specifically the skills that are going to be required for him to get a job, period, right? That's what he's focused on. So, how long you've been looking for a job? And let me temper this by saying this. My teammate Maria is on PTO for 2 weeks. She's in charge of these millennial trend studies, and I may have taken some of this data out of her spreadsheet. And when she finds out, it's going to be really difficult. In fact, so difficult, I'm going to make sure I'm not even in the same country. But I want to share some stuff with you, right? And that is that it's taking a long time to find a job. And people are taking, students and recent graduates are taking jobs that aren't connected to their field of study. This is Shane. This is my son, Shane. I've got two. One has a really good GPA, 4.6. He's doing real well. Shane doesn't. But let me tell you about Shane. Like many high schoolers, majority of high schoolers, his tablet is universal. Whether he's learning something, reading a book, or on Instagram or whatever these kids do. The reason I mention that is one of the things I'm going to highlight is tablets are actually a dominant force that can be connected to your employment branding, to your content marketing strategy. And let's just boil that down for a second. If you have something so cool that remains in someone's mind, like catapults, slingshots, and orange, for some reason is baked into my brain, and you put that into some piece of digestible reading material that's formatted for a tablet, and you feed this to kids in high school and early on in college, you're predisposed to getting them to get on a flight and come to Indianapolis, right? I'm just throwing it out there. So I think that there's a major opportunity to look at the cusp of the next generation as it comes to these technologies. In terms of the depths of this millennial trend study, the most fascinating data points that I wanted to make sure I leave you with today are as follows. People visited, and this is from, by the way, activities that were completed in the last 6 months on devices, the green being tablets, by the way, which I didn't label. And I could see my boss, Leela, back there going, sending me an email, you should have labeled it, right? 42% on tablets. The blue is smartphones. So even in the millennials, this is 30 and under, men and women 30 and under, the tablets are where they're doing research on the companies, on you, right? No one, second, is downloading your career app you paid someone to build for you. Nobody. I'm sorry. Also, what I also found interesting is that no one's doing anything sophisticated to crush the process that doesn't seem to want to go away at career fairs. I was talking to someone just recently, last evening in fact, and they still take resumes and put them in a box and put an A or a B or a C on them. Cat's out of the bag. This is the third huge opportunity, is compressing or crushing all this process, figuring out a way, maybe it's using a tablet or a smartphone or whatever, you're smart people, to get this connectivity, right? So you can take the event information that you have of the 100 people that came to your booth, primarily because you had the most badass swag of the whole career fair, right? Assuming that is the case, right? Of course it is. You can get this information and then have the whole company have access to it. Does that make sense? Because the other thing you need to be doing, and this has been evident and thematic today, is creating or leveraging the evangelism of all the people in your company. So imagine if instead of carrying that box of resumes, as it may be, all of a sudden everyone had access to the information, and you know what people in your company went to that same school or degree or whatever, right? And lastly, LinkedIn. LinkedIn profiles, a majority, especially on tablets, but definitely on phones, which is intriguing. We're getting some 50% plus of all of our uniques, all of our visits on mobile. This is certainly, as it comes to the millennial set and the cohort that we're focused on, is a key ingredient, is they're actually looking up to see who they know who works there. Why? Because they know that the way people get jobs has not changed universally ever, period. You get a job coming out of school one of three ways, okay? I don't need to be someone as sophisticated as Ariel at Nike to know this. I don't need that kind of metrics, right? I have a wife that's got common sense. Basically, you have a friend. Your dad's cousin gets you an internship at the place, right? Number two, you have an okay friend that happens to have gone to the same school, so you have alumni affinity. Or three, you apply like everybody else, and somehow someone goes to your LinkedIn profile and you have a nice photo and you have it all filled out and you get hired. Those are the three ways, right? And the third way is the one that's coming along. So what does this all mean for you? Brand, mobile, and content. We've talked about that. I didn't just put this slide together. We've been talking about that forever. It means that, okay, millennials are using tablets. High school students, that will be universal, the high school students today. In my son's high school, they're moving away from textbooks to tablets, right? So tablets, smartphones, all that type of stuff. Anything you do around your brand, video, content, whatever it is, writing a job description, it all needs to be wired for the mobile web, for a tablet, and for smartphones. I know this isn't earth-shattering, but my challenge to you is to actually take this data, right, and start to harness it for the purpose of arming yourself. Whether you're the ADP or the Nike, right, or you're someone no one's ever heard of.